Hi Year 4. Today I'm going to go through how you're going to plan your adventure story now that you've got all your characters and everything else in place. So, looking at the SMART, today you're going to plan your adventure story based upon the structure that we discussed last week and using the 2 characters we came up with. So, a story is like a mountain. Sorry, that would be Year 5 next door. A story is like a mountain. We're going to be doing our story mountain in this way. So starting with the setting description, then moving on to an animal being mean to your character, then moving on to the animal getting into some sort of trouble, your character saving the animal, and the animal thanking your character for what they have done. So it's like a mountain, and it's following that same structure that we discussed last week. So this is a quick idea for my plan. It's not my plan. It's not my final plan. This isn't what you're writing in your books today, but it's just helped me to organise my ideas. So I've got the setting at the beginning, just here, which we all know is going to be a woodland forest. My first box is my animal, which is Roger the rabbit, is rude to Flex the robot. In the sense that he's rude to him, he thinks that Flex the robot is just a robot monster and is going to hurt him and isn't very kind. Then Roger falls down a deep hole, being a rabbit, slight issue. Flex then uses his extendable arms to reach down the hole and save Roger. So we know that he's got his extendable arms from last week when we did our drawing and our description. Then Roger apologises to Flex and invites him to tea. That's how my story is going to finish. So they are just quick ideas. You can pause the video now and just quickly draw that out. It will only take 2 minutes. Just to remind yourself of exactly what's happening and which characters are going to be where. You could just write it on a scrap piece of paper. It doesn't need to be in your book. It's just to help organise your ideas so that when you come to doing your plan, you've got a bit more information. So the first thing you're going to do, and this isn't something that needs to take a long time, it's a very, very short activity, is that you are going to draw a picture of your woodland that you're going to be using as your setting. So I have written today's date, I have written the title of planning your adventure story, and then I have got a box just here for my setting picture. So it's absolutely fine for you to quickly have a small drawing of what your setting is going to look like. I've then written the word setting here just so that I can describe that in a little bit of detail, but not too much because that's what we're doing on tomorrow and Wednesday. Okay, so I've just drawn a really quick picture. Obviously you can see it's not that fantastic, but it doesn't need to be. And I've just written for the setting, woodland forest, lots of trees and wildlife, just so that I know it's there, ready to go. Okay, so this is the second section of my plan. Remember, a plan doesn't need to be in full sentences. It can just be bullet points. It can just be short sentences to explain what you're doing for each section. So section 2, Roger the rabbit is rude to Flex the robot. Now I've put a couple of questions here. What was the woodland creature doing? So what was Roger the rabbit doing at the beginning? How did he meet the robot? What did the robot say to him? What did he say back? Now you know that you've got a little bit of speech that you could possibly use. You're not doing the whole conversation in this point, because if you were to do the whole conversation, that would be the whole story gone. That speech is there so that you can use it, adapt it, change it, put it in where you need to put it in different points in the story. So make sure that you do not just copy out the speech for the whole thing, because your story will be finished. And did he leave or did the robot leave? What happened? It also says here you need to try and use a fronted adverbial, maybe some onomatopoeia or expanded noun phrases in here. You're not expected to use all of them, but you might want to use 1 or 2. Okay, so I'm going to have a look at my first section, which is an animal being mean to Flex. So, my first question that was on the page before was, what was the creature doing? Well, he's a rabbit. I'm going to say that he was, what was he doing? He was burrowing. He was making a little burrow in a hole, because then that explains why he fell down the hole. Maybe the hole was already there from something else. So what was the creature doing? Roger was making a burrow for his family. So you can see I've got a bullet point, or I've used a dash. How did he meet the robot? So I'm going to say that the robot was looking for a friend. So Flex was looking for a friend and came across Roger. What did he say? I think that Roger's going to be scared of him, but he's just going to be unkind to him in that way. So Roger, I can think about my speech that I used last week as well. So maybe I could say, Roger said, "Go away, monster. I am not food." So I've got a little bit of speech there. Flex was upset and told Roger he didn't eat. Then I'm going to say Roger ran away. Oh, did he run? He's a rabbit. Maybe he hopped. Hopped away. Roger hopped away, screaming that he was being chased, which obviously he's not, because Flex is a nice robot. Okay, so that's that section complete. I've thought about the animal being mean, I've put a little bit of speech in there, and I've said what's happened at the end. Okay, next section. So Roger falls down a deep hole. Now I said before that he was trying to make a burrow, so maybe he's gone to find somewhere else to make the burrow. The questions we've got is, where is the animal? So I've just said he's probably moved. What did they see or hear? How did they react? What was the problem that they have? And how do they feel? So they're the next things that I need to think about in my plan. So now I'm thinking about Roger getting hurt. So I've just said he was trying to make a burrow. So he's obviously gone somewhere else. So Roger went somewhere else in the forest to build his burrow. While he was doing this, he suddenly heard a rumble. He heard a rumble, and the rumble was the earth beneath him falling. Earth beneath him. And then he saw all the ground tumbling down. So what's the problem? Well, he fell down the deep hole. And the last thing was, how is he feeling? Well, how would he feel at this point? I think he'd feel absolutely terrified, worried, and he's probably going to be calling for help, isn't he? Help! Okay, so I've popped that in there. So section 4 is Flex saving Roger. So how did Flex find Roger? What did Roger see or hear? Did he hear him coming? How did Roger feel about being saved? And what did Flex do to save him? So I'm going to say that Flex was following Roger because he wanted to convince him that he didn't want to eat him. So Flex slowly had been following Roger to tell him he didn't want to eat him. So that's my first one. That's how he found him. He suddenly heard something calling for help. Roger, so what did Roger see or hear? Heard Flex call back and panicked because he's going to now think, oh no, I'm stuck in a hole and the robot can just come and eat me now. It's not like I can run away like I did last time. So Roger's probably going to go and be a little bit scared. So Roger was scared, but at the same time, he probably wants to be helped, but wanted to be helped. Remember that everything on this needs to be in the past tense because we're in a story and we're talking about something that's already happened. So what did Flex do? Well, Flex used his extendable arms and reached down to pick up Roger. So that's that section complete. Okay, the final section then. Roger is going to apologise to Flex. So the questions we've got: where did Flex and Roger go after the incident? How did Roger feel after the situation? What did Roger do to apologise? And how did Flex feel? So how did Flex feel after he had been apologised to? So I'm going to say that at the end of this, Flex and Roger decide to become friends, and Roger is going to invite Flex for tea. Now, how is Roger going to feel after all of this? He's been nasty, he's been rude, and then the only animal only thing that's come to save him is the person he was rude to. So he's going to feel a little bit embarrassed. So, Roger felt embarrassed and wanted to make it up to Flex. So what he does is Roger invited Flex to tea and said he would tell all the other woodland creatures how friendly Flex really was. Okay. Roger apologised. Flex felt relieved and happy that he had a new friend. And that's that final section there sorted. Now, there was one more thing. I have used all the things that I needed to do for the actual story, but I haven't thought about those few things that I said I needed to make sure I used. So they were onomatopoeia, fronted adverbials, expanded noun phrases. So I need to look through and I need to see where I can add those things to. So I've taken a different coloured pen for this, and I'm going to have a look at that first paragraph. So obviously the setting description will be first. We're going to do a little bit of work on that, so don't worry about that paragraph. But in here, I could probably use some onomatopoeia somewhere along the line, or maybe some expanded noun phrases. So Roger was making a burrow for his family. Flex was looking for a friend and came across Roger. Roger said, "Go away, monster, I am not food." Flex was upset and told Roger he didn't eat, and Roger hopped away screaming that he was being chased. So I think I could put in an expanded noun phrase where it says, "Go away, monster." So go away, scary, horrid monster. Scary, horrid monster. So I've got an expanded noun phrase in there. I think I could say that there would be a fronted adverbial maybe here of all of a sudden with my comma afterwards, because I think I could make that into a sentence. So all of a sudden, while Roger was making his burrow, he heard a noise, and then I could go into that. So that's that section. Now, Roger gets hurt. I could definitely use some onomatopoeia in here. So he went somewhere else in the forest to build a burrow, heard a rumble, and the earth beneath him began to crumble. So what onomatopoeia could I use? Remember that onomatopoeia is a sound word. So it could be heard a rumble. We could have crash here. We could have bang. We could have boom. Any of those kinds of words. He fell down the deep, dark hole with, in that prepositional phrase, with earth everywhere. Okay, that's that section done. I've kind of put one already in here. So Flex slowly had been following Roger to tell him he didn't want to eat. He suddenly heard something calling for help. So rather than he suddenly, we could have suddenly he heard something calling for help. Roger heard Flex call back and panicked. Roger was scared but wanted to be helped. Flex uses his extendable arms and reached down to pick up Roger. So maybe we could have an onomatopoeia here. What kind of a noise would it make? A heave. Maybe heave ho. So you can see how I've added those things in, and I've been careful about where to put them. So you don't need loads, but you can use this time after you've finished your plan just to add in those few last little bits from that list. Okay, Year 4, I hope that was somewhat helpful. I will put my example onto the website so that you've got another one to have a look at, just to keep an eye on it. Yeah, enjoy writing your plan.